The Young and the Restless spoilers. Hey everyone, it is literally 3 a.m. on a Wednesday, but I am wide awake, shaking, and furiously typing this because my mind is completely blown. I just finished watching the latest episode of The Young and the Restless, and I need to vent immediately to people who actually understand this show. If you haven't seen it yet, consider this your massive spoiler warning, because what just happened is going to change the entire landscape of Genoa City forever. I cannot believe they actually did that. I mean, we all read the spoiler forums. We all knew that Kyle Abbott and Victoria Newman were getting a little too close for comfort lately. We saw them sharing secrets, hiding away in rooms, and trauma bonding over their respective daddy issues. But actually seeing them lock lips, nope. I was screaming at my television screen. My dog literally jumped off the couch and ran out of the room because I was yelling so loud. I'm sorry, but this is just so deeply wrong on so many levels. The age gap, the bitter family rivalry, the sheer grossness of Victor Newman's golden child making out with Jack Abbott's pride and joy. But wait, I'm getting ahead of myself, because the kiss isn't even the worst part of this entire catastrophic episode. Let's just rewind for a second and talk about the build-up to this absolute nightmare. We all know Kyle has been spiraling out of control. He's been dealing with the severe trauma of Patty Williams, blackmailing his family, the terrifying kidnapping of Diane by Dr. Markham, and his own reckless, dangerous desire to get revenge on Victor. And who does he turn to in his darkest hour? Victoria. Victoria, who has been working overtime, basically killing herself to keep the peace in her own family, while Nick is hallucinating on fentanyl, and Victor is playing his usual manipulative, ruthless games. So they find themselves alone. The tension is incredibly thick. The lighting is all moody and dramatic. And suddenly they are leaning in. And I'm sitting there on my bed like, don't do it. Please, writers, I am begging you, don't go there. But they didn't. They kissed. And it wasn't just a quick, accidental peck. It was a full-on, passionate, what were they thinking kind of kiss that made my stomach turn. And then Claire walks in. Guys, we have to talk about Claire's face. I have to give massive props to the actress because her expression was a perfect, flawless mix of absolute disgust, heartbreak, betrayal, and pure, unadulterated fury. Can we just talk about this from Claire's perspective for a minute? Imagine walking into a room and seeing your mother, your biological mother, who you are just starting to build a stable, loving relationship with after years of trauma, making out with your ex-husband. I mean, Kyle and Claire have so much messy, painful history, and now Victoria's swapping spit with him. It is the most twisted, soapy, messed up family dynamic I have ever seen in my entire life. Claire went absolutely ballistic. And honestly, I am 100% on her side. I was right there cheering her on. She started screaming, asking what the hell they were doing, demanding to know how Victoria could stoop so low. Claire's rant was everything I've been wanting to say to these characters for weeks. She looked Victoria dead in the eye and basically asked if there were literally no other men in all of Genoa City. Why Kyle? Why the man who has caused Claire so much grief and anxiety? Victoria tried to do that classic Newman thing where she stammers, deflects, and tries to rationalize her terrible behavior, acting like it was just a fleeting moment of weakness. But Claire was not having it. And honestly, neither was I. Because it's not just a moment of weakness, it's a massive, unforgivable betrayal of her own daughter. But just when I thought the scene couldn't possibly get any more dramatic, just when I thought the tension had peaked, the writers decided to drop the absolute mother of all bombs into Jack Abbott. Oh my God. Jack. He burst into the room looking like he just ran a marathon, his face completely pale, his eyes wide with sheer panic. I knew something crazy was about to happen because Jack has been dealing with so much lately. Between Diane's trauma, Patty's blackmail, and his own recovery, for him to run over here looking like he's seen a ghost, it had to be big. And boy, was it big. Jack looks at Kyle, then looks at Victoria, and he just blurts it out with tears in his eyes. He tells them to stop. He tells them they can never, ever be together. Kyle, being classic, arrogant, defensive Kyle, immediately gets his back up. He starts yelling at Jack, telling him he has no right to interfere, like, "You can't tell me who to love, Dad. You don't control my life." But then Jack drops it. He looks Kyle dead in the eye and says, "She is your sister, Kyle. Victoria is my daughter." I stopped breathing. I literally hit pause on my DVR and just stared at the frozen image of Jack's terrified face for a solid 5 minutes. Victoria Newman is Jack Abbott's daughter. Are you kidding me right now? I have been watching this show for years, and I know the history. I know the lore. I know that Nikki and Victor's relationship started with massive lies. I remember the history where Nikki originally lied and said some guy named Kevin was Victoria's biological father before Victor finally claimed her. But to retcon this, to reveal that Jack Abbott is actually Victoria's biological father, this changes everything. This rewrites decades of television history. Okay, back to the point. Let's process this emotionally. Nikki and Jack have a long, incredibly complicated romantic history. We all know that. They've been on again, off again, lovers, confidants, and friends for decades. But to sneak in a secret pregnancy, to have Nikki lie to Victor all these years, letting the mustache raise Victoria as his golden child, his heir apparent, when she actually has Abbott blood running through her veins. It is the most insane, brilliant, and devastating twist I have ever witnessed on daytime television. And it completely recontextualizes Victoria's entire life. No wonder she and Adam never got along. No wonder Victor is always testing her loyalty. But wait, does Victor know? Does Nikki even know that Jack knows? My brain is spinning so fast with the implications of this I can barely type. And then the sheer, unadulterated horror of the situation finally hits Kyle and Victoria. They just kissed. They are biological siblings. They share the exact same father, and they just kissed. The look of absolute sickening nausea that washed over Kyle's face was award-worthy. He looked like he was going to vomit right there on the expensive Newman rug. Victoria looked like she was going to pass out, all the blood drained from her face. I know some people on the forums are probably loving this soapy drama, but personally, I am so grossed out, but also completely captivated. It's like a horrific train wreck. You simply cannot look away. They are standing there, physically wiping their mouths, staring at Jack like he has lost his damn mind. Of course, Kyle absolutely refuses to believe it. He goes into pure denial mode. He starts yelling at Jack, accusing him of making this sick story up just to keep him away from the Newmans. Kyle is screaming, "You hate Victor so much you're willing to invent this insane, disgusting lie just to control my life?" And honestly, can you blame Kyle for doubting it for a second? Jack has been under so much extreme stress lately, with the Patty Williams blackmail and Diane being terrorized by Dr. Markham, it's totally plausible that Jack is just losing his grip on reality and having a mental break. But Jack is dead serious. He's pleading with them, his voice cracking, telling them it is the absolute, undeniable truth. Victoria, ever the practical, cold, corporate businesswoman, finally snaps out of her shock and says what we're all thinking: we need proof. She is not about to let Jack Abbott rewrite her entire identity, strip her of her Newman legacy, and accuse her of incest without cold, hard scientific evidence. So what do? They march straight to Genoa City Memorial Hospital for a DNA test. And guys, the tension in those hospital scenes was thick enough to cut with a chainsaw. I was sitting on the edge of my bed, biting my nails down to the quick, watching these three sit in the sterile waiting room. The waiting room dynamics were absolutely incredible. You have Kyle pacing back and forth, muttering to himself, looking like his entire world is collapsing around him. He is sweating, panicking, probably replaying that kiss in his head and gagging. You have Victoria sitting perfectly still, posture rigid, but her eyes are completely hollow, like she's already grieving the loss of her Newman identity. And then you have Jack, looking so incredibly guilty, heartbroken, and devastated, because if this is true, Jack has missed out on raising his daughter for her entire life. He's watched his absolute worst enemy, Victor Newman, mold, shape, and manipulate his biological child. It's a tragedy of epic proportions. And let's not forget Claire. Claire followed them to the hospital because she is not about to let this mess go. She is furious, she is disgusted, and she is loudly demanding answers. Can we talk about how unbelievably messy this makes Claire's life? If Victoria is Jack's daughter, that makes Claire Jack's biological granddaughter. That means Claire and Kyle are, wait, I can't even do the family tree math right now. It's too disgusting and convoluted. Claire is pacing around the hospital corridors, lashing out at everyone. And honestly, she is the only one reacting normally to this absolute circus. She's yelling at Kyle, she's glaring at her mother, and she's basically having a complete, justified meltdown right in front of the nurse's station. Now, we all know how DNA tests work on soap operas. Usually, somebody sneaks into the lab, pays off a corrupt technician, and swaps the labels. I was fully expecting Victor to suddenly appear from the shadows with his cane, bribing a doctor to change the results to protect his legacy. Or maybe Patty Williams would sneak in disguised as a nurse. Remember when she pretended to be Dr. Emily Peterson? Yeah, I haven't forgotten that nightmare. I was so paranoid that the writers were going to drag this paternity mystery out for 6 agonizing months with tampered results and endless speculation, but they didn't. The doctor comes out with a sealed envelope. Victoria snatches it from his hands. Her hands are visibly shaking. Kyle is holding his breath, looking like he's about to pass out. Jack is looking down at the floor, unable to bear the suspense. Victoria tears open the envelope, reads the paper, and just drops it. It flutters to the floor in slow motion, and the camera zooms in on Kyle as he scrambles to pick it up. He reads it, and it's a match. 99.9% probability Jack Abbott is Victoria's biological father. They are brother and sister. I screamed. I literally screamed at the top of my lungs. It's true. The kiss was incest. Victoria is an Abbott. My mind is completely blown into a million pieces. How is Victor going to react to this? Victor Newman's entire legacy, his golden child, the woman he has groomed for decades to take over Newman Enterprises, shares DNA with Jack Abbott. Victor is going to have a literal heart attack. He is going to burn Genoa City to the ground. He just got back together with Nikki. They were literally just celebrating their reunion and planning a romantic vow renewal in Venice. And now this? Nikki has been lying to him this entire time. Let's talk about Nikki for a second, because I am fuming. How could she do this? Remember all those years ago when she lied and said Kevin was the father? We thought that was the end of the deceit. But to hide that Jack was the real father all these years, she knew how much Victor hated Jack. She knew this would absolutely destroy him. And she just let Victoria grow up thinking Victor was her dad, letting Victor project all his hopes and dreams onto a child that wasn't his. I am so mad at Nikki right now. I love Melody Thomas Scott. She is an absolute daytime legend, but her character is about to face the wrath of the mustache, and I don't think their marriage is going to survive this nuclear bomb. And what about Kyle and Victoria? How do you even come back from this psychologically? You just made out with your sibling. The trauma of that alone is enough to send anyone straight to Fairview for a year. Kyle was already on the edge because of the Patty situation, and Victoria has been so stressed with Nick's addiction and rehab stint. This is going to completely break them. I wouldn't be surprised if Victoria completely abandons Newman Enterprises, has a massive identity crisis, and goes on a bender, or if Kyle just packs his bags and leaves town entirely out of sheer shame. I don't know where the writers are going with this, but I am strapped in for the ride. This is the exact kind of soapy, dramatic, jaw-dropping television that made me fall in love with The Young and the Restless in the first place. I hate it. I love it. I am thoroughly disgusted, and I am completely fascinated. I need to know what happens next. Will Victor find out tomorrow? Will Claire expose him to the whole town out of spite? Will Jack try to claim Victoria as an Abbott heir? I need answers. Anyway, I'm going to try to get some sleep, but let's be real. I'm just going to be staring at the ceiling for the next 4 hours, thinking about this family tree nightmare. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, because I feel like I'm losing my mind.